Very good. So welcome everybody to Esports Symposium. We're so glad that you could join us. Just don't forget to connect with us on social media. And today's session is going to be Developing Diversity, Inclusion, and Accessibility in School-Based Esports with Mr. James O'Hagan. If you have any questions, please shoot out to me. My name is moderator in the chat, and I will be posting any information in there as well.
You're not just moderator, you have a whole name. What is your name, please? Because I didn't
Aranza.
ask that.
No worries. My name is Aranza, but my name in the chat is moderator.
All right. And it's okay for me now to take over control?
Absolutely.
All right. Then let's do this. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for being here today. Now, understand that I can't necessarily see everything. I can't see the chat, but Aranza is going to very much drop in and just let me know if there's questions or if I'm running out of time. Again, these presentations sometimes become an out-of-body experience for me. So if I start to go off on a tangent, which can sometimes happen because this stuff is changing all the time and it's really cool stuff, please bear with me and we'll make sure that if we need to, we'll touch on some other subjects before the end of the day. But today, right now, what I'm talking about is developing diversity, inclusion, and accessibility in school-based esports. Now, it is always important to realize that as you step into your esports experience for your students, whether you are new to this or whether you're old hat and you've been doing this for several years like I have, you become responsible forever for what you have tamed. So if you are having questions about your esports experience, if you are feeling like this is great, this is helping a lot of my kids, or if you're really struggling with, taking it to the next level, realize that you have the power to really decide what this becomes. And, the hard part with this too is realizing that as you step into this, because it is so intrinsically powerful for kids to be a part of this, and because that, kids really love to do this. Once you start with esports, you can't just shut it off. You can't just get rid of it. So you become responsible for this experience with kids. So please make sure you realize that. And it is also important to realize, because I know we've tossed around some terms kind of, very vaguely in some ways, but there's a very big difference between esports and video gaming. Esports is a segment of video games, and esports is organized and competitive. So I just want to make sure, because I don't think we really did that at the opening panel, to put everybody on the same page. So just make sure you know that esports is organized, competitive video gaming. And today is a bit of a call to action, because diversity, inclusion, and accessibility in esports is incredibly important. Again, we know the demographics, what they say about kids who want to play video games. And again, that doesn't necessarily always translate into esports, but we know that the demographics are there. So we need to make sure that the invitation to the experience is there for all kids in our schools. And I want to just show you very quickly here. This is in April 27th, 2015. This was the launch of our first esports program. This was at Guilford. This is a varsity esports program, which it wasn't a club. It was the athletic director of the Rockford Public Schools said, look, I have reached the threshold and I want to include esports as being a varsity level experience. And so he really played it up as being such. And as you look in the room right there, you see 5 kids. We were actually using our library space who are playing League of Legends. And on the other side of the wall there, you don't see, but there's also another group of 5 kids, all boys, all playing video games. And again, back in 2015, again, this being so new and looking at this as a babe in the woods, this was okay. This was literally get the computers, get the games, and let's have the experience and go. And we really missed out on a major opportunity here to really engage kids as we did this in 2015. But fast forwarding to just this last year, so oh gosh, this is coming up on a year now. This is our team from Horlick High School here in Racine, Wisconsin. And as you can tell, this Overwatch team, this is at the state finals. You could tell the diversity here is a lot broader than what we had before. In fact, not only do we have females on the team, but we also have one person in that group who identifies as non-binary not a non-binary student. And that award that we're getting, which is the thing I love the most, is they're not winning the state championship. They finished second in Overwatch in the state. That is actually the sportsmanship trophy. So we actually have a sportsmanship trophy that is voted on by the peers. So these are the kids who they played, voting and saying that, yep, Horlick High School team, even though they kicked our butts, they were very polite about it. So this is a major award. And again, the thing that I love about this photo is, again, you see the diversity in the team, race, gender. And again, this is a game that is typically, you look at Overwatch League, for example, it is mostly all boys. So, but again, it came down to the invitation about bringing kids in and about marketing to them specifically, and making sure that, again, we bring in our social workers and our counselors to be part of this experience. So why esports? And I kind of alluded to this in our opening panel. I talked about number 1 and number 3, but really there's
18.
I'm sorry.
What?
Somebody's not muted. I don't know. So 5 reasons why we're looking at esports culture. Number 1, we want to redefine what athletic culture looks like, but we're also looking at how we can redefine what video game culture looks like through our experience here in Racine Unified. We want diverse opportunities for student participation. We know that this is old data, that when we get kids involved in extracurricular activities, 2 things happen. GPA goes up and attendance increases. And if GPA goes up and attendance increases, chances are your graduation rates are also going to increase. Number 3, we want to increase those career and collegiate scholarship pathways. We want to make sure that we are giving kids an opportunity to explore things beyond the games into things like journalism, shoutcasting, marketing, management, IT work, but even those non-STEM related careers, because yes, it is very nice that esports like to say, hey, participants 50% are involved in STEM activities, but that roughly means that 50% of the kids are interested in non-STEM activities. So it's important to honor them as well. We want to promote positive mental and physical health, which a lot of people don't typically associate with video game culture. But again, esports is a segment of video games, organized and competitive. And number 5, we want to honor the importance of play, because we know play is something that across all age levels, whether you're a young child or an old man or old woman, play is important in every part of our lives. Now, the conversation today I'm taking us through is, again, around this idea about why we would, or how do we include, or what does the data currently tell us about accessibility regards to diversity and inclusion in game culture. And I'm kind of laying out a conversation here kind of on a broad scale using data that's available through 4 parts. Number 1, the Anti-Defamation League actually did a very fascinating report called Free to Play, Hate, Harassment, and Positive Social Experiences in Online Play that came out in July 2019. Also talking about the NEQ report around diversity and inclusion in collegiate esports, challenges, opportunities, and interventions that came out in October. Just this last September, there was the Gender and Two-Tiered System of Collegiate Esports report. That's an interesting study as well that came from North Carolina State. And I also have some data from my own student surveys that I did in Racine Unified back in May and December. Okay, so these are important pieces of data. These are important things that I hope, again, I can string together to make an argument just how important it is, this topic really is, with regards to esports. So let's start with the ADL report. Now, realize a couple of things too. The slides that you have in the sketch, the thing I uploaded, it's a PDF. If for some reason it is not letting you click on the source links, let me know and I will make sure to tweet out the source links later. Also, if you do need to connect with me, just to give you the lay of the land, my Twitter handle is in the upper left-hand corner of all of the screens here. So at Jim O'Hagan, or if you need to connect with me in other ways, you can use my Linktree link up there, Linktree/Jim O'Hagan. That'll get you to me. So let's look at this ADL report here really quickly. And I'm breaking it down. I'm not taking you through the whole report, but the purpose of it is to explore the social interactions and experiences of video game players across America and details their attitudes and behaviors in a rapidly growing social space. So the Anti-Defamation League realizes that gaming is, again, it's not a solitary environment as much anymore as it used to be. This isn't the Atari 2600 days. These are the days of gameplay being connected to the internet, to the social experience, whether that is directly in game or even the out of game experiences that can be had in video game culture. So the current state of things, starting first with, let's start with the positive, because a lot of people, when they think about game culture, they don't focus too much on the positive. They want to focus on the negative. But there are some real positive things that we need to highlight. And I think that's a good thing that the ADL report does, is that you have and sorry, if somebody's, I have some things pop up on my screen here. The positive aspects of digital social spaces that exist inside online games include the ability for these spaces to connect people, build friendships and communities, and allow for learning and knowledge sharing. 88% of people who talked about these online spaces said that they had a positive experience. That's a huge number, 88%. Think about that. 88 out of 100 people said that in a gaming online space, they did have a positive experiences, whether it's made friends, helped other players, discovered new interests, felt that belonging to a community, all the way down to finding a partner or finding a mentor. Okay, so these online spaces can be positive. And the places where people are seeing these positive online experiences, according to the report: World of Warcraft, Minecraft, NBA 2K, Overwatch, even Counter-Strike is a space where people are finding positive interactions of making friends or socializing. Okay, so even some of the violent games like Grand Theft Auto, okay, things that people look at and go, ooh, I don't know if I would ever play that game. People are finding positive social experiences in these spaces. But there is also the negative aspect of things where 74% of respondents said they felt harassed in some of these spaces, called names, targeted, severely harassed with 65%, all the way down to being stalked and doxxed. If you do not know what doxing is basically figuring out somebody's personal information and putting it out online: home address, bank account information, where they like to go and eat, really some harmful stuff there. But again, when you compare the two things together, let's just take the harassment side. You have 88% of people saying that they have had positive experiences and 74% feeling harassed. Those are very opposite ends of the spectrum. So you can have a positive and a negative experience in this same space. The people who are feeling harassed in this space: women, those in the LGBTQ community, African Americans, Latinx, Muslim, Jewish. Those are the people who are feeling the harassment the most in this space. So again, as we're thinking about going into this as a school, we have to realize that some of our kids are coming to us with these experiences, especially if you're female or if you're a minority population or you are part of the LGBTQ community. So as we think of the invitation to learning, as we think of the invitation to esports, we have to be cognizant of these possible experiences that kids are bringing with them. Now, the reactions to the harassment. So if 74% of people are feeling harassed in this space, what are their reactions? Some are choosing to manage who they play with. Some are quitting to play their games. In fact, one of our girls, who was a captain of one of our Overwatch teams last year, hadn't played the game in 2 years because of harassment that she faced online. And it was really sad to hear, but it was also really positive to see that she did come back to the game, that she was a captain of a team, and that she found a community that was supportive of her in this game environment to do the thing that she loved to do. So that's a really positive thing to consider. Also, some people change how they play, but here's also something that's troubling to a degree, is that even though they may face harassment, it has not affected some of their gameplay experiences. Okay, so people are willing to put up with being harassed in order to play their games. And again, think of how damaging that could be, that you love something so much and yet you will put up with crap from other people who you may not even know in an online space to play. So again, the intrinsic motivations here are strong to play these games. So some of the recommendations that come out of the ADL report, I'm not going to go into every recommendation here, but specifically they give recommendations for the game industry of ways and things that they can fix things, for civil society and for government, even to address the state of online play. But what's interesting is that they didn't talk about schools, right? They didn't talk about how, because again, we know that a lot of kids are playing these games, even though the average age of game players is somewhere in the mid 30s. I want to say 34 is the average age of video game players in the United States. But ADL report didn't give any recommendations of how schools can start to do this. So we see these things come up a lot. I'm a school district administrator. I also oversee our virtual learning program in our school district. So esports is not my full-time job, though sometimes it feels like it is. But the online experiences these kids have do carry into their social media spaces. It does carry into the classroom. It does carry into the school. So we have to be able to, again, keep our minds to it and think about ways that we can address these experiences. So with that said, that's going to transition us into the any key report. Okay, so first off, we looked at what is the data currently telling us about the current landscape of gameplay in the United States. What the any key report provides are some things that we can do. Now, again, it's written for a collegiate mind space, a collegiate space. But as I read this report, and I invite you, if there's a couple of things that you read before stepping into esports, this is one of the documents I highly recommend reading and seeing it through your lens of your classroom or your school or your grade level. Is that the things that you can do, the recommendations they do give in here are incredibly powerful. The purpose of the report is to provide a number of basic things campuses can be doing to make sure that diversity and inclusion are front and center to collegiate gaming going forward. And again, I don't look at this as a collegiate necessarily. Again, put on your hat of your role in your school and see it through that lens, and you'll be surprised that some of these messages are very universal. And again, there are 13 different things that you can do here as far as 12 different things you can do as far as your the recommendations. Now, rather than take you through every one of them one by one, what I instead chose to do was kind of pair them up with some similarities and some themes. Okay, so for example, when I look at this here, let's take a look at number one, perform a diversity audit and create a plan for inclusion. Okay, now a diversity audit isn't just about the gender or the race of the kids who are involved in your program and comparing it to the cross section of your school's demographics, but also look at the abilities of your kids. Also look at, are they physically able to compete in your space? There has been some amazing tools that have been developed over the recent years. Microsoft has developed a universal adaptive controller that allows for kids with different physical disabilities, or actually it wasn't just kids, it's for anybody, obviously, to play their games. And this device that you see here, the adaptive controller, is not only available for Xbox, it's also will plug into a PC perfectly well. In fact, they made the whole system completely open so that any developer can create a device that will plug into the back of it. And that way, anybody who is of physical disability can play. Microsoft has actually done a really good job around accessibility in games. They actually have a feature that a lot of people don't know about called Copilot. And I think Copilot exists on the Xbox, and I believe it's also for PC. But imagine if you have a child with a physical disability who can maybe only push one button, right? Having a Copilot means you can have somebody who is maybe directing people or directing the character, the game player through a situation, and you have that other child just basically pushing the fire button, if you will, or the jump button. Okay, so allowing kids to have that co-play experience, that co-pilot experience, is also a big key in all of this. Number two of the recommendations, take preventative approaches before punitive ones. I think that that's a very key aspect to this, especially as we being educators. And again, we have a lot of kids coming to us again from that Lord of the Flies experience that they've had online. Some of these kids have been through some serious trauma in online. And so as educators, we don't want to create experiences for kids where they are punished for doing something wrong. And I'm going to talk about that in just a minute here, about how we are working with kids to help train them to live and work in these online spaces and realize that some of the things that they can say can be damaging and hurtful to others without even realizing it. So make sure again that you realize that your esports isn't just competitive, but it's also a teaching space. It's also a way for kids to learn about each other and about how they see themselves online. Number 3 and 7, I kind of put together: provide a code of conduct and enforce it, and use inclusive language and establish non-discriminatory policies. If you don't already have a code of conduct for your esports team, I highly recommend creating one. And if you're not sure where to start, the good people at NASEF have created one for you that you can take and copy and paste and rework however you want. It's very easy for you to do that. And again, on the slide here, if you're not sure where to get this, if you look on the bottom right hand corner of this slide, there's a link there for the source, so feel free to grab that. But do not rely on your student code of student handbook for esports and dealing with things, because guess what? The student handbook is written for the classroom. It's not written for a competitive experience. Yes, there are certain things it does cover, but for the most part, you really should have a code of conduct, again, that uses inclusive and non-discriminatory language. And again, the NASEF one is a perfect way as a template to get you started with that. Number 4, 5, 8, and 9 I put together. So develop programs for diverse levels and forms of participation, encourage co-ed play, offer meaningful diverse representation in media broadcast, and formulate holistic selection criteria for varsity teams. The big thing that this falls into is this idea of 2 types of play, okay? Many schools already have a casual gameplay experience. Sometimes it's just a video game club, right? Get together on a Friday afternoon, you're all playing a bunch of video games. The kids who come to participate, they may bring their own systems, their own consoles. The games are going to change, the experiences are going to change. There's no schedule around it. It's just show up on Friday afternoon, for example, and let's play some video games. That's a fantastic thing to have. That's an important part of play that we need to honor. Do not, please, take your casual gameplay experience, shut it down, and say, guess what? We're all going to esports now. We must honor the 2 types of play that these kids are going to want to have. I, for one, was a kid who, growing up in high school, I love baseball. I absolutely love baseball. I hated the idea of a baseball team. I just wanted to be able to go play with my friends and hit the ball 500 feet on a lob pitch. I was not all about like, hey, let's get down with strategy and things like that. Honor those 2 types of play between casual and competitive. Also, again, as we look at our teams here, and again, I bring up the one team here at Horlick on the right, which you saw, which won the state sportsmanship competition, but on the left is a Case High School team. And again, it's important to note there the diversity in the teams, the diversity in the coaches, kids seeing themselves in their coaches or their general managers, as we call them. The gentleman actually on the bottom left-hand side, you see right there, that is not a student, that's one of our art teachers. So yeah, let the tattoos come out, because there's kids who identify with that. You know, he's got a septum piercing, kids identify with that. Miss Fellion, who you see there kind of squatting down on the bottom right-hand side of that left picture, she is not what you would call a gaming expert, but she is one of those people who loves the idea of kids getting engaged in something in school. She loves being a part of this experience. So Ms. Fellion is a key asset to our program as well. So again, looking at the diversity of these pictures, are they where we want our teams to be? Absolutely not. But I can tell you what, when we go to state and we line ourselves up against other schools, I can tell you that we are further along on this path of diversity and inclusion and accessibility of esports than anybody else. And that's hard to say when you're still single digits when it comes to female representation on your teams, but it's better than 0 at this point. And again, we still have that goal of where we want to be in the next several years. Moving on here. Also encouraging the establishment of networks of support and invest in modern moderation infrastructure. Okay, one of the ways that we develop networks of support, and it has been incredibly valuable in the age of COVID, has been our Discord server. Now, if you have just found out about Discord, Okay. And you've seen it recently. I know the ISTE conference was last week and they used Discord for some parts of it. Please do not just run back to your school and start setting up a Discord server. There are major FERPA and COPA concerns around Discord. You have to have a conversation with your IT department around this, okay? This tool is incredibly powerful, but it needs a lot of oversight. So again, when the moderating of this in this space, there is myself, there's also 12 other adults. All of our general managers are part of this space. They all have moderation rights to have control over this. And this space, again, in the age of COVID, this is where our community comes together. 5 high schools all together in one online space. Kids finding, making connections across schools. But again, this whole experience about esports goes beyond the games. So we are also using our Discord server for, we have channels set up for a bunch of other things beyond the games and the gameplay. Yes, we have our general chat area. Yes, we have a place for our GMs and coaches to have their own chat channels where they can chat online. We have even a spot for our team captains so that they can discuss things that team captains need to discuss. And again, all moderated by adults. So we all have access to the captain's chat, but it's just a spot for them to have their say. We also share collegiate info. So colleges are looking to recruit. Hey, let's put that info up here, share that info. But here's the other things that kind of make this a kind of cool community. We have a channel set up just for pet pictures. Kids are right now, especially that they're all at home. Guess what? They're taking pictures of their pets during the day and posting them up online. Okay, just that's all it is. There's no conversation. Just here's my dog, here's my cat, here's my goldfish, whatever it is. A place for kids to develop their art. Think about this. You already have this space where kids feel very safe. They feel safety and a sense of community. So kids have been sharing their personal growth through art. And it's amazing to see how in the last couple of years, their art skills have changed as they have met with their peers online, shared their work online, and gotten critical and key feedback. In fact, one of my friends, Carrie Linden, works for a studio that is looking for an art person right now, an art intern. And knowing that I've specifically tagged 4 people and said, hey, your art has gotten phenomenal over the last couple of years. You should consider applying for this internship, if not to get the job, but to just go through the process and develop your portfolio. We have a memes channel. Now, knowing what you know about memes and how memes can go down, again, think about this as the walled garden, the teaching space. The first time I opened up that memes channel, oh my gosh, the stuff that we got, there were some really hurtful things and some really violent things and some really damaging things. Did we then kick kids out of the Discord server? No. We take the offending content down, direct message, and say like, hey, you know, we have to make sure that this is again a space that's welcoming for everybody. Consider that when you share these things here, that there isn't going to be somebody who necessarily finds it funny or you're singling somebody out. It really opens up an interesting conversation with kids. Again, when you are intrinsically talking about digital citizenship in a way that makes them think like, oh, that thing I just posted, yes, now I see why it can be damaging. I can see why it can be hurtful. We have kids sharing music. I love music. Kids love music. It's an interesting thing to now have a conversation with adults in the room talking about the music that they like and that we like. Okay. And then of course we've got our VODs, our video on demand, where we share clips. And it's great to have 5 high schools all together, because now this becomes a place for recruiting, not for recruiting, for group scouting, right? So different schools getting together and scouting other teams from around the state. It's an amazing support structure. And then we have a place just to hang out, voice chat, hangout. Fantastic thing to have. So 4 quick anecdotes that I want to give about this experience and what we've had through all this. The online culture this year has been...
James, I'm so sorry. It seems that you...
I'm sorry? Did you lose me? I heard somebody start to say something.
I can still hear you.
Okay. All right. So 4 quick anecdotes talking about online culture. Okay. This has been a hard year, right? We haven't had anybody come in yet face to face, but our online culture has helped to onboard freshmen into our program. Okay, so helping freshmen along, helping get them to stop being middle schoolers and start being high schoolers. Now we've got this space and this place where that has helped them with their transition. Again, the memes channel has been a great learning space for kids. One of the biggest things that Discord has been for us has been a place for a call for help. We did have a student who was in crisis recently who had felt that he had taken up enough of his principal's time the day before and his social worker's time the day before. And he reached out to me just on a whim throughout the day. And it was because he was in some serious mental crisis. And so, but he didn't feel like he could turn to anybody else because he had taken up so much time. So we were able to redirect him back to proper services to get him the help that he needed throughout the day. Again, this is a community that we are developing with our esports program. And then the final part is your partners matter, right, in this space. So it is important to make sure that if you are inviting people into this space, if you are inviting them into your community, realize that, again, these are kids. Please make sure that I'm not comfortable with just giving access to outsiders. So even if they're colleges who are wanting to recruit and find out more about your kids, I am not one who wants to just invite in college leaders into our Discord. So please make sure that your partners in this space are ones who are vetted, ones who have gone through proper, if you have background checks, make sure you include that as well too, if they're not school district leaders.
James, I just wanted to let you know we have about 9 minutes remaining. So if you want to go ahead and make your closing statements, or if there's any questions, this would be a perfect time.
All right, so I'm going to have to blow through a lot of stuff very quickly here, but I will get through it. Here we go. Are you ready for this? So on top of all this here, provide formal training for bystander and allies and incentivize and reward good social leadership. Again, that getting that award for our good sportsmanship in our play, that has been a good marker of where we're at as far as our development of our community. But there's still a lot of work to do in this space. Okay. And it's also important here to realize that there are, again, in the college level, gender and the two-tier collegiate system, the club versus varsity level, again, thinking about what experience you want for your kids. The club experience is much more inviting sometimes because, again, you're not necessarily as varsity sport driven. It's important as far as the conversation goes to decide, again, what kind of experience do you want for your kids and what do you want it to look like here? What do you want recruitment to look like? How are you going to get hold of these kids who you want to have part of your program? And then finally, looking at the data that we got back from our kids. Okay, so some of the qualitative data, again, talking about our 5 reasons why we're involved with esports. Diversify those opportunities for student participation. These kids were asked the question of, does esports promote positive interaction among participants of different backgrounds and identities? And overwhelmingly, our kids said yes. Okay, so there's positivity there. There's also, we can't just realize that there's disability divides here. We also have to realize there's racial divide and digital divide in our community. So again, making sure that esports is promoting positive interactions in these spaces. We also want to make sure that kids are respected regardless of how they identify. Again, our program is showing that it does. Our program is showing that we're creating a space where somebody doesn't feel insulted for being who they are. And again, a lot of the feedback that we get from kids, what impact is this making? And I asked the question, what was your best esports memory from this season? Okay, this is just some of the qualitative feedback we got. Got all my friends together in a usually encouraging manner, which sadly doesn't happen very often. When I won my first game, the rush of happiness I felt made me feel relevant. And they also liked being able to make amazing plays with their friends. Again, it's community, right? In this. Another question that was asked, such as, has esports affected your view on school? Esports has given me friends and experiences that make me look forward to school. It helped me become more comfortable with myself. I try a bit harder in school, so I'm able to play in a game. And finally, of course, we've got, what benefits do you think esports has for your daily life? It builds community and gives me a place to escape a busy school life. And honestly, it makes me happier, playing games has always been a pastime for me, but going into a competition is a highlight of my day. And it helped me stay really positive and gave me a type of escape when things are rough at home. And that's a pretty powerful statement right there from a student. So realize that we are the founding generation of educators who are developing scholar gamers. That's what we call our kids. We don't call them esports athletes in our school district because it's a much broader ecosystem that we're working with. We call our kids scholar gamers. The choices we make now create the framework this can become for our students. And for our kids, our students, our scholar gamers, we must be explorers and architects and leaders and coaches and innovators and advocates and crusaders. And of course, we also have to be vulnerable. And again, I alluded to that in my opening talk, that we have to be vulnerable in this. And also realize too that we have to be brave, okay, in all of this. Because for them, we must be responsible forever for what we have tamed. And with that, I think I have 4 minutes left. I blew through 20 slides in record time. And I hope that there might be some questions. So I've got some time for, looks like 4 minutes for some questions. So are there any? I will shut this share down and see if we can get into the chat and take a look at that. Oh boy. If you have a question, feel free to just, we've got 15 participants in here, so feel free to shout it out. Bueller. I know somebody got that.
How many people are actually moderating your Discord channels?
14. 15 if you include me. So every general manager, we have 12 general managers. We have myself, and then we have 2 community members who run our gaming lounge in town, which sadly we have not been able to be in, but they are a part of our Discord server as well.
And is there a way to hold posts in Discord before they go live?
No, but there are tools that we've put in to moderate as well. We have an auto moderation tool as well, which looks for keywords, and the system log will tell me if messages are deleted and what the content of those messages are. So we do have system logs set up as well too. It's actually pretty awesome to see time, date, and what the message was that was deleted. So everything gets thrown back into a system log throughout the day. So even if something gets missed in the middle of the night, because our kids have odd sleep hours as well, but it's interesting. Between 15 adults, we usually have somebody who is alert and sees what's going on at all hours most of the time.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. You're muted still.
Thank you so much.
It's all right.
So I just wanted to thank everybody for joining us today. Thank you, Mr. James O'Hagan, for sharing all of your information. I also want to remind the audience, please don't forget to go to SCEDApp and rate your session, rate your presenter, and rate your amazing moderator.
Yes, please do that. All right, I guess that's it. By the way, I will just give a quick promo at 4:10. If you are new to this and you're like, where do I go to connect in with other people after the symposium today? We're going to do a brief 20-minute kind of overview on that. And then at 4:30 we'll jump over to the Esports EDU chat for a little bit. So you can check that out. Again, see what the community is about, get your feet wet in our online experience on Thursday nights, and you'll be back in time for the 4:10 closing session. So 5:10 closing session. So that's it. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you very much for the moderation. Thank you for jumping in. I really appreciate that. I was not aware of my phone at all.
No worries.
Yes. All right. Yeah, I'm going to pop out.